What's going on, Browns fans? Welcome into the Cleveland Browns Report by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Matthew Peterson, and coming up on today's show, we got a handful of topics to hit on, including the latest Deshaun Watson news, plus David Njoku puts ink to paper, signs his contract. So we'll break that down a little bit more and add some follow-up reactions to it as we let some of our emotions calm down as the weekend went on. But first, Cameron Justice tweeting this out yesterday among many other people. This is not breaking news information here, or, breaking news, which is the number of civil lawsuits against Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson has increased to 23 after one of the original women contacted about the allegations, who declined to file a lawsuit, changed her mind after seeing HBO's Real Sports and being, quote, struck by the courage of the victims. So we have that piece of information right there. And then not long ago, the Browns and Maria wrapped up an open media session to OTAs, and Kevin Stefanski was, of course, asked about this. And here's what Nate Ulrich from the Akron Beacon Journal had to say. Browns coach Kevin Stefanski on a 23rd lawsuit being filed against quarterback Deshaun Watson. That goes back to the work we did before the trade, and I'll continue to let the legal proceedings play out. Listen, everyone's wanting to know, what does this mean, right? Is this going to mean a potential longer suspension if that's in the cards? It is impossible to predict what is coming for Deshaun Watson. Some people have gone as far to say a whole year suspension, right? The Trevor Bauer approach of, could it even be more than that? Or is it going to be lesser, right? Just 4 games, or even no suspension at all, because no criminal charges have been made against Deshaun Watson. Here's my stance on this. I don't think you really should have a stance or a take, because this is something bigger than football, but just don't give me the hypocrisy, right? I don't want to hear from fans that, A, their team was going after Deshaun Watson. Like Steelers fans, do we need receipts? You guys were all in on getting Watson, okay? 2, not like Ben Roethlisberger is a perfect character and model citizen to go after, okay? 3, every single team in the NFL has their skeletons. Hell, the Cowboys had a teammate who stabbed a guy and then showed up to practice. And not a guy, a teammate, okay? Every single team has had their bump in their road, their skeletons, whatever cliche you want to use. So I'm just not interested in all of a sudden everyone else being the morality police and acting like they have never rooted for a team that's done nothing wrong. No, okay? The Browns definitely knew what they were getting into when they signed up for the Deshaun Watson. If you're upset with the Browns for trading for Watson, that's perfectly fine and understandable, and there's not an argument against that. But I just don't want to hear this double standard of, well, my team would never do this. Really? Because about half of the teams, I would say, in the NFL looked into trading for Watson. Hell, the Dolphins were very close to pulling the trigger before the criminal side even went away. So I'm just not going to entertain this idea of the Browns are alone on this front. I don't buy it. Now, what I do buy is that we have the best Browns news and rumors coverage here on YouTube. And at Chat Sports, we've got a nice competition going on here, all right? So between myself and our Giants host, Marshall Green, who's always pushing the 1s and 2s for us here, we're trying to race to 10,000 subs. And we had a good lead on them, but the Giants have, little Ricky Bobby slingshot engaged us. So let's slingshot them back. Let's beat them to 10,000 subs. Hit that big red button if you are competitive, or I don't know, if for whatever reason you still think about the Odell Beckham Jr. trade and you really wish Jabril Peppers was still on the Browns, whatever it may be. All right, moving on here, we're going to talk about David Njoku now, who, like I said at the top of the video, officially signed his contract. It's a 4-year, $56.75 million contract with the Cleveland Browns. What does that do? Well, it lowers his cap hit for 2022. Remember, he was going to have a ballpark $10 million-ish cap hit from that franchise tag. Instead, Andrew Berry does what Andrew Berry has done for more than just Watson, by the way. Kind of backloaded the deal. High signing bonus, low base salary. Actually brings the cap hit down, all right? And the takeaway here is, I know, 4-year, $56.75. In the moment, I hand up. I got a little, I wouldn't say, swept away from it, but I kind of caught up in it. But let's not forget, every NFL contract, essentially any long-term contract, is a 2-year deal. A lot of the guaranteed money, that's really all that truly matters from a GM's perspective, is early in the contract. and they can get out of it after two seasons. So Mike Florio over at PFT, who's kind of off his rocker, honestly, 2-year, $25 million deal essentially in his eyes, and I agree with him. Here's the dead cap hit year after year. So if the team wanted to move on from Njoku right now, which, it'd be a $25 million dead cap hit. Next season, 13.6. So that's still way too big of a number, most likely, for Barry to stomach if Njoku has a bad season. But then you get a drop-off, right? After 2023, it's just 6.8. And if you wanted to have him for 3 years and not the fourth, it's just 4.8. And they put some void years on at the end of his deal. But Andrew Barry, he's pretty confident on his guy, the Chief. Here's what he had to say. His ability to generate explosive plays with this athleticism, speed, and run after catch ability, along with his productivity as a blocker on the line of scrimmage, is a difficult combination to find in a single player. We've seen David grow throughout his time here, and we are excited to see his best football over the next several seasons. I'm excited to see his best football as well, because you definitely have seen some great moments from Njoku, right? The Chargers game last year. But then my issue is a lot of his production came from just one game last year. So it's kind of a double-edged sword of he was so good in that game, but can we see more of that over a long period of time? Ultimately, when it comes down to the finances of it, two things. One, it's not my money. It's not your money. It's Jimmy Haslam's money. And if Barry's got the green light to spend more of his dough, I'm all for it. Two, it lowered the cap hit for this year because it went from 10 to 1.5. So there's some savings to be had right there. You really just got to look at it as sounds like Njoku can make a little extra money for possibly just a 2-year deal. So if you like the David Njoku contract, hit that thumbs up icon to like the video. But if you don't, that's fine, no problem. Comment down below why you don't like the Njoku contract. Let me know which side you stand on by either hitting that thumbs up icon or heading down to the comments section. Next story here coming in from Field Yates. We've talked about this before, but this one was just put on a platter to me, all right? So Field Yates tweeting out, new Lions defensive lineman John Kaminsky was as popular as a player as I can recall on waivers. 8 teams tried to claim him per source: the Lions, Commanders, Colts, Browns, Texans, Cardinals, Vikings, and Bengals. Detroit ended up getting him. But the key word there, right? The Browns. So to me, my takeaway was Andrew Barry is open to signing a defensive tackle. We talked about this position at length, and let's be honest, we probably have beaten it to a dead horse, but I think we do have a new nugget on this trail of how confident is Andrew Barry in that interior defensive line. Because it looked like he was content with rolling with 3 young guys: Elliott, drafted in 2020, Togiai, drafted in 2021, Winfrey, a rookie, and Brian, the veteran of the bunch, who was drafted in 2018. So I think there is something to be had there that Andrew Barry may be looking to add in some extra competition for the right price. Cameron Justice tweeting this out after the Browns OTAs wrapped up and some members spoke to the media. Joe Wood said Jordan Elliott is moving really well so far at OTAs. That's defensive coordinator Joe Woods said the lights are starting to come on for him. Listen, I'm lukewarm on this group of interior defensive linemen for the Browns. There is some positivity and some optimism that a young group can really take a huge step forward this year. And I'm all for that. I don't mind going to a younger group of players if the time is right. But to me, this is a team that is ready to win now. And I don't know if what I've seen, I do know what I've seen for them so far. It doesn't look like they're ready to contribute to that to its fullest potential. I mean, I combined the stats of Taven Bryan, Tommy Togiai, and Jordan Elliott last year. Those are the stats you would see from maybe just one player, like an Ndamukong Suh, for example. Now, of course, very different stages of their career, right? Bryan, kind of a first-round bust, very much a first-round bust. Togiai and Elliott. Togiai only played in 6 games last year. Elliott started 3 games, but still combined 3 sacks and 4 tackles for loss. My take here, get the best players possible if you're Andrew Barry, right? You are a GM who's trying to win right now. So I say get the best players available. This is not a team that's looking to develop young players. This isn't baseball, okay? You're not going to put out some of your young pitchers to see what they're made of for years to come. This team is geared and manufactured to win a Super Bowl this year. Don't play science experiment and have a fair of, let's see how Togiai and Elliott look, right? If there is someone out there, there's a veteran player who I understand Barry has his reservations against paying like an Akeem Hicks $10 million contract, and I'm fine with that. But if you can find a veteran, cheap defensive tackle, I'd rather bring him into the mix and at least see if he's in shape during training camp than just be content on we're going to turn to our young bucks and hope it plays out, even though we actually haven't seen that from them yet. We're honestly even really seen a ton of flashes that they can take that next step. I'd rather at least give it a shot with bringing in someone into the rotation that you know has played at that high level before. But let's ask this question again. Should the Browns sign a defensive tackle? This has been one of the bigger topics, we'll say, amongst Browns fans. Y for yes, N for no. I wouldn't say I'm in the middle. I'm a Y for yes, but I'm not going to go $10 million like the Bucs did for Akeem Hicks. Okay, moving on here. Nate Ulrich also tweeting out that tight end David Njoku is at today's voluntary OTAs practice after signing contract extension. Defensive end Myles Garrett is a notable participant, too, after staying away from voluntary workouts in Berea last week. What I love about this team right now during OTAs is that they know they are 0-0. Right? This team knows they have not won a game yet. Yeah. A lot of the big wigs, a lot of the big players are showing up, and they are ready to work right now in May. You've seen some teams in the past come off awesome seasons, kind of sleepwalk towards the regular season a little bit. Not this Browns team, right? Deshaun Watson has been there from day one, and it looks like he's not going to miss a single voluntary practice to see Myles Garrett come. A lot of these players like to work out on their own, with their own trainers. That's fine. It's voluntary. It's not even padded. A lot of this is for players who have a ton to prove, but it's good to see Myles Garrett there, right? It's better than him being there, it feels like, than him just not being there. But let's play a game on the show. Pick a defensive end. Like I've said before, I sit next to our Steelers channel here at Chat Sports, run by my friend Jeremy. Well, I say friend, but more like we just coexist. All right, whatever. Who is it going to be as he gives me the bird right now? Myles Garrett, put 95. Or if it's TJ Watt, put 90 down below in the comments section. I promised you guys last week we are going to hand out an award for the best Brown Stadium name, because remember, a story came out that a serviceman in Cleveland wanted to propose changing First Energy Stadium after some fishy stuff going on with First Energy. So I said, hey, comment your best stadium name ideas. You'll get on the show. A lot of you guys, a lot of great minds thinking alike. Here's what I would say majority of the people said. Dog Pound Stadium. Can you beat it? No. No one's going to be upset if the Browns are playing at Dog Pound Stadium. Like, that is an awesome name. Honestly, it's way more exciting to go, we're playing at the Dog Pound than we're playing at First Energy. No. Now, a close runner-up was somewhere, again, a lot of very similar comments, but Jim Brown or the Browns Municipal Stadium. In fact, I can't remember who it was, I'm sorry, but someone pointed out a great note that if you have Jim Brown, right, you're kind of honoring two things, the Browns and a legend, Jim Brown, although I'm not really all about naming stadiums or things after people who are still alive. It doesn't seem all that right, like this little Coach K. And Municipal sounds a little like a boring name, but you get the Muni lot, right? M-U-N-I in the beginning of that. So I like the 1-2 punch right there. But pick a name for me. This will be our final vote here. What you going to do? Dog Pound Stadium, type 1. Jim Brown Municipal Stadium, type 2. Last chance to get your votes in. We'll see you guys later here on the Cleveland Browns Report.